At my firm, we've invested a lot in legal AI, generative AI. I'm on the firm's AI committee, and we're developing AI policy for lawyers, like how do you properly use AI? One of the questions with AI is information you get is only as good as the prompt, so the question you ask it.
How much time is saved with using AI? Like, are you talking about like hours, weeks?
You could save, anywhere from like 1 to 10 plus hours and just researching cases. And
this is Maestro Minute, the show that discusses all things real estate, sharing interviews with the most successful people in the industry. Hear from their perspective and what they are doing to achieve success. Get exclusive tips on how you can also succeed in real estate. Maestro Minute is brought to you by Maestro Development. Here's your host, Mhare Mouradian.
I mean, the world is moving so fast. I feel like everything's being expedited, and now we have like this introduction to, artificial intelligence. There's all these new softwares coming out about it. How has that impacted what you're doing, and like, where do you see that going for real estate and in the legal world?
Yeah, so AI has actually kind of become a passion of mine just because I think that's where we're headed. We don't have a choice. So either are going to get ahead of it or you're going to get left behind. So I know that at my firm, we've invested a lot in legal AI, generative AI. And I'm on the firm's AI committee, and we're developing AI policy for lawyers, like how do you properly use AI? So on the legal side of it, I could talk about that. And on the real estate side of it, even on the, just construction side of it, any contract you have is the amount of time to draft that contract is going to be cut short, because now you're going to have all these, they say AI is as good as the data. So imagine an AI where you have all these contracts that you've uploaded into the AI database, and now it could pull from these agreements. You could say, okay, give me a contract for a ground lease in Los Angeles between a commercial landlord and a commercial tenant. And the generative AI can draft a sample agreement, which is great, but...
Who typically would do that? Who usually drafts the draft?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So one of the questions with AI is the information you get is only as good as the prompt, so the question you ask it. So you gotta know what to ask the AI, how to draft it. So, there used to be a saying that I would hear is, don't confuse your Google degree with my law school degree. I think that would be said for AI. Don't, so you have to be careful with AI because...
Don't confuse your Google degree?
Yes.
People say they act like they have...
Your Google search.
Oh,
Sorry,
I see.
Your Google search,
okay.
Yeah. Because you can Google a lot of things, and whether it's, like you Google like, oh, my neck hurts, like you can hear like the worst things. You got to really know, and you really got to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
The same with law. And I think it applies to AI.
I see.
You got to know the right questions to ask. But also there's an ethics side of it for lawyers, but I think also for business people is you have to make sure what it's giving you is actually what you want. I think it's a good starting point, but I don't think we'll ever get replaced, because you got to have a second set of eyes on it to make sure it's right. There's two famous cases, and I just presented on this a few weeks back to the International Council of Shopping Centers. They have this conference every year, and I led a roundtable on AI and talked about these cases. And one is a case in New York, and the attorney submitted a brief and used, I think it was ChatGPT, to find cases to support his position. And then when the other side went to draft their opposition, they researched the cases and found out that those cases don't even exist. So basically the AI made up these fake cases, and not because it's evil, but the way that AI works.
Oh, it made up the cases?
It made up the cases because the way that AI works, it's like a learning machine. So it's really like trying to find the words to match your prompt, your question. So in its algorithms or whatever code, it came up with these cases that don't exist, not because it's evil, but there is a thing called hallucinations believe it or not, for AI. So this AI, in this case, hallucinated. In that case, the attorney got sanctioned $5,000 for coming up with a fake case and had to apologize. Again,
So he didn't verify the information from AI.
Correct.
He just went with it.
yeah, he assumed it was true, and so I mean, so you always have to verify. It's it's like what Ronald Reagan said: trust but verify, and so you still
Yeah.
have to verify.
Yeah, trust but verify for sure. How much time is saved with using AI? Like, are you talking about like hours, weeks?
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you're doing, if you're like in this case drafting a brief or drafting a contract, you could save, I mean, numerous hours. Anywhere from like 1 to 10 plus hours, and just researching cases. And it's a really good starting point, but you have to verify it. It could save a lot of time, and then also in terms of like I've seen it and I've heard from certain clients that they're looking into AI like being in part of deals, so transacting with the other side, negotiating with the other side, because a lot of negotiation is not done in person; it's done via email.
How can AI negotiate? How do they negotiate? Because that seems to me it's more than a numbers thing. It's really like there's like a art to negotiating, right? The art of the deal.
Right, exactly. So, I mean,
Have you seen that happen? Like where there's a negotiation that AI is pushing for a certain value or a certain compromise, or
I haven't personally dealt with it. I've read about it, and what I've read and heard, and it really depends on the size of the deal. So what I'm referring to are not like big deals where like big complex deals, but on like ordinary like simple transactions, you just give it the parameters, and it can negotiate for you. I mean, it's not prevalent, but that's may start happening more. But it's really a fascinating area. It's a lot of it's just kind of like coming into, and I see it happening in the next, 3 to 5 years. It's going to come around really quick. And
are you guys using it right now?
we have it. We have a software that's called Co-Counsel, and we have a license for it. We had our firm retreat a month back in Chicago. We were talking about earlier. We actually had the founder of Co-Counsel come and present to the entire Hush Blackwell firm on how it works. And so we're using it. We've invested in it. We want to be a leader in it from the legal side of it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a tool. I think that's going to make things more efficient. You just got to be careful ethically and make sure you review everything. It's never going to like be on its own. At least if it is, there's a big risk for that. So again, avoiding risks. So you're always trying to like think about that.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maestro Minute podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast if you found it helpful, share it with a friend that could use it, and follow us on all major podcast platforms. The Maestro Minute, powered by Maestro Development.